Here's another important connective in sentence logic. It's represented by an arrow, which represents the logical relationship of a conditional or an if-then statement. For example, if Jose goes to the party, then Juliet will go. We're going to symbolize that like this. J arrow U. Or it can be read as J then U. Sometimes I'll say J implies U, U follows from J. But that's the correct symbolization. If Jose goes, then Juliet goes. Notice sometimes we will state sentences like these without saying then. I might just say, if Jose goes to the party, Juliet will go. Notice I omit the then, but it has the same meaning and would be symbolized in the same way. So you might be thinking, okay, I can do the or. I'll just use a lowercase v on my keyboard. I can type and. I got the ampersand key there. But how am I going to do this arrow? Well, if you can figure out a way to do it with your computer, that's fine. That's great. But if you can't, then why don't you just use dash dash and then the symbol that looks like greater than, and if you hit shift on the period key on your keyboard, then that should come up, and that pretty much looks like an arrow. I should be able to figure out what you're trying to do if you have anything close to that. And why don't you go ahead and, if that didn't make sense, email me, because you're gonna have to have some way of representing the conditional with the arrow. By the way, in other systems, the arrow is represented, or the conditional rather, is represented by a horseshoe, which looks like a capital U on its side. Okay, so we did, if Jose goes to the party, then Juliet will go. Does this sentence mean anything different? Jose will go only if Juliet goes. It actually doesn't. It has the same meaning. So if you have an only if in the middle, then that's going to have the same meaning as just a plain old if in the beginning. Think about the bottom one like this. Another way of saying that is, if Juliet doesn't go, then Jose won't go. Why? Yeah, so if Juliet doesn't go, Jose won't go. Why? Well, because Jose is going to go only if Juliet goes, right? And the way we symbolize that is, if Jose goes, then Juliet goes. Why? Well, because if she doesn't go, then he's not going to go. So there's a pattern forming here. If you have a sentence of the form, if A, then B, then that will be symbolized A, arrow B, or A, then B. If you have a statement of the form, A, only if B, that will also be symbolized as A, arrow B, or A, then B. Okay? Two different ways of doing the same thing. Here's another example of only if in the middle, and you'll see that it's going to have the same form as if A, then B. You're a dog only if you're a mammal. Let's use D for you're a dog, M as in mom for you're a mammal, and we're going to get D arrow M. D arrow M. So this has the form if A, sorry, excuse me. This has the form A only if B. Or to use the letters here, D only if M. And that's going to translate to D arrow M, or D then M. Okay? This phrase is a little bit different. We're going to lose the only. We're just going to have a plain if in the middle. You're a mammal if you're a cat. Now we could rephrase that to have the if clause in the beginning. We could rewrite that sentence so that it came out, if you're a cat, then you're a mammal, and that would certainly be C arrow M. So we have three forms here. We started with we started with if A, then B. and that's A arrow B. Then we had A only if B, and that is also A arrow B. And now we've got something of the form A if B. And there you have to reverse the order to get B arrow A. Or in this case, we've got C and M, so it'll be C arrow M. I hope that makes sense. We have a special symbol for a phrase if and only if. So this is a conditional that goes two ways, and it's called a biconditional. That's why the title of the slide is more on conditionals and the phrase if and only if biconditionals. It would logically work in a sentence like this. It's Christmas if and only if it's December 25th. We're going to symbolize that with the tribar, right? So it's three lines, as you can see there, between the C and D. And if you can figure out a way to type that, great. If you can't, just use the equal sign. And we'll use that to type the tribar for if and only if. What this logical relationship represents is really an expansion of two arrow statements. So if it's Christmas, if and only if it's December 25th, what that's telling us is that, one, if it's Christmas, then it's December 25th, as you can see, C arrow D, and, so we got the ampersand, if it's December 25th, D, then, we got arrow, it's Christmas. Okay? So it's really saying that the conditional relationship goes two ways, and hence the prefix by. Right? Look at the cat example, or the dog example. If you're a dog, then you're a mammal. D arrow M. That does not go both directions. Yeah, it's true that if you're a dog, then you're a mammal, but it doesn't go the other way. If you're a mammal, that doesn't guarantee you're a dog. But sometimes it does go both ways, like Christmas, right? If it's Christmas, it's December 25th. If it's December 25th, it's Christmas. And that relationship we capture with the triple bar or the tribar, those three lines, and you can just use an equal sign to type it. Okay. Now let's talk about unless. Unless isn't going to get a new symbol. The easiest way to deal with unless is to treat it like an or statement, and a disjunction. For example, I will be at the beach unless it rains. I would just symbolize that as B or R. B, wedge, R. So the unless directly translates to the wedge. Now, you might be thinking, well, but couldn't I symbolize that as if it doesn't rain, I'll be at the beach? And that's right, because you'll be at the beach unless it rains. So in other words, if it doesn't rain, you'll be at the beach. And that's an acceptable way to deal with unless. You're really treating it as if not, which is acceptable. I will be at the beach if it doesn't rain, which translates to if not R, then B. Negation R, arrow B. That's logically equivalent to B or R. By the way, B or R is the same as R or B, right? The order there doesn't matter. And we're going to learn more about that in the future. So that to deal with unless, just treat it as or. So now we've got all five of our connectives. We've got the negation, the tilde. We've got and for conjunction, the ampersand. We've got the wedge for disjunction, an or statement. We've got the arrow for conditional, the if-then statement. And now we've got the tribar for the if and only if relationship. So let's practice with more complicated sentences. How would we translate or symbolize this? An argument is not sound if and only if there should be an is there, it's not valid or does not have all true premises. So now we're actually looking at the logical relationship of the definitions that we've used in this class. I've used the phrase if and only if, and now we can symbolize it. So that would be not S, right? It's not sound. So S stands for an argument is sound. Negation S would stand for the argument's not sound. If and only if, so we use the triple bar. And then in the parentheses, either it's not valid, so not V, or, so we use the wedge, not T. It's false that it has all true premises. So that's a pretty complicated one. So if you're following that, then you're in really good shape. Here's a simpler one I think you'll be on board with. If it's Saturday or Sunday, then it's the weekend. Well, we put Saturday or Sunday in parentheses. S stands for it's Saturday. U stands for it's Sunday. Saturday, wedge, Sunday in parentheses. Arrow, W, it's the weekend. So if it's S or U, then it's W. How about this one? The 49ers are in the playoffs if neither the Cowboys nor the Packers win. So that is of the form A if B, right? So we need to move the part after the if to the beginning of our translation. We could rephrase this in English. It could be if neither the Cowboys nor the Packers win, then the 49ers will win. And you can see that that's how it comes out in the translation. We have a neither nor phrasing. So we learned one way to do that is to negate a wedge statement. If it's false that either C or P, in other words, if it's false that the Cowboys win or the Packers win, so that's neither nor, then we've got the arrow F, which is the 49ers are in the playoffs. So if not C or P, then F. If it's false that the Cowboys or Packers win, then F, which is 49ers are in the playoffs. How about this? Tim will go to the party unless he's busy or doesn't feel well. Let's have Tim will go to the party be P as in Paul. Tim is busy is B as in boy. And he feels well is W. So we're going to have to do a negation for he doesn't feel well, not W. Unless I would do the wedge, and then or I would also do the wedge. So you're going to get a double wedge statement like this. P or B or not W. And yes, you need those parentheses around the B and the not W. You might find that annoying, you might find it unnecessary, but it's just a rule of our language. I said there's another way to do unless, and here's the other way. So if you're saying he's going to go unless he's busy or doesn't feel well, in other words, if he's not busy and he's feeling well, right? If both of those things obtain, if both of them are the case, that he's not busy and he's feeling up to it, then he will go to the party. So not B and W in parentheses, arrow P. So these are the sorts of, these are similar statements to what you're going to have to do on the exam. You're going to have to take English, like we have these 4 examples here, and translate them or symbolize them into our language. So why don't you try this on your own, and why don't you use these sentence letters. So what we have here is a key or a dictionary. J stands for Juan goes to the party. S is Juan gets sick. M, Melissa goes to the party. And B, Melissa breaks up with Juan. So try to translate those 4 sentences. And pause for a second, try them on a piece of paper, or type them up, and here are the answers now that you've paused and gone through them. The first one would be J, arrow, negation S. J, arrow, negation S. Right, Juan goes only if, so there's an arrow, it's false, he gets sick, so not S. The second one would be M, arrow, and then in parentheses, S, ampersand, not J. So Melissa goes only if Juan gets sick and doesn't go. It'll be M, that's the condition, then the arrow, these 2 things, in parentheses. Juan gets sick, which is S, ampersand for and then Juan doesn't go to the party, which is the negation of J. The third one would be M, sorry, no, it wouldn't be M, right? Because that is Melissa goes to the party. It would be B for Melissa breaks up with Juan, arrow, and then we have a neither nor situation. So we could either do the negation of a wedge statement, which would be negation and then left parenthesis, J, wedge, M. right parenthesis. Or we could do the negation of J ampersand the negation of M. So in other words, it would be B for Melissa breaks up with Juan, arrow. So what do you know? So B, arrow, and then what's the consequent? Well, two things. In parentheses, the negation of J and the negation of M. Right? So if Melissa breaks up with Juan, if that happens, then two things won't happen. Namely, Juan will go to the party. Two things won't happen. Juan won't go to the party, and Melissa won't go. Neither nor of them will go. And then finally, Juan goes to the party unless Melissa breaks up with him and he gets sick. So Juan goes to the party is J, unless is the wedge. Melissa breaks up with him is B, and is ampersand. He, which refers to Juan, gets sick is S. And then we need parentheses around the B and the S. So it would be J, wedge, and then in parentheses, B, wedge, S. Okay, I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, shoot me an email, rscherbart@gavlin.edu. Okay, that is all.